Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Starring Clark Gregg, Ming-Na Wen, Chloe Bennett, Elizabeth Henstridge, Henry Simmons, Natalia Cordova-Buckley, Jeff Ward.
So real quick, just want to do a quick reminder to remember to subscribe so we can hopefully hit 500 soon. But you have no idea how hard making this list was. Like, my head was literally about to explode so many times while I was trying to put this together, because there are so many fantastic episodes of this show. But eventually I compiled what I personally believe are the 10 best episodes of the entire show. And I'm going to be completely honest with you all, because I do have a feeling this will be a list that will be a little bit frustrating to some people. But there are no episodes from seasons 1, 2, or 3 on this list. All of those seasons do have some fantastic episodes, and there are certain episodes from each that were incredibly close to getting on here, but I ultimately just feel that a lot of the absolute best episodes from seasons 4 onwards are better than the absolute best episodes from the early seasons, even though the quality of the early seasons might be more consistent and their overall arcs might be more interesting and enjoyable, but their highest highs just don't cut it, in my opinion. But then again, all of this list is my opinion, but I'm so sorry if your favorite episode does not make the cut. But anyway, let's get into this. So in 10th place is the final, Season 7 Episode 13, What We Are Fighting For. So truth be told, I was very close to not having this episode on the list at all, but just due to how satisfying I personally believe the ending was, I decided it had to be at least in 10th place, because there are definitely some things I'm not happy about with this episode, mainly the villains and how they decided to explain the Fitzsimmons mystery wasn't the best, because it was something that ended up being a little bit of a weird explanation if you rewatch some of the early episodes. But as a final to this amazing show, I was pretty happy with it. There wasn't one single character ending that I didn't love, and leaving everyone in such a way that a reunion is definitely possible at some point was pretty much just what I wanted. After 7 years of putting these characters through pain and heartbreak, it was happy to see them all get a somewhat happy ending, even if it wasn't with Coulson really here. In 9th place is Season 7 Episode 9, As I Have Always Been. So the only other Season 7 episode on this list is another one that I wasn't exactly certain should be on the list at all. But this is an episode that has really grown on me over the last couple of weeks. After it first aired, everyone was crazy about it and calling it an all-time great, but I personally didn't really agree. I thought it was good, but just not that good. Then I rewatched it and I really thought about it, and this is genuinely one of my favourite iterations of the Groundhog Day trope in anything. The comedy is handled in such a dark and tragic way that is so befitting of the situation and what the characters are facing. Like, pretty much every joke in this episode means something and isn't just there to make you laugh, which is something the MCU has a huge problem with. That humour that is just kind of there to have a one-liner. Then we cap it all off with one of the most emotional moments of the series, as we say goodbye to a character who had been with us for years, and all this combined with the fact that this was Elizabeth Henstridge's directorial debut made me appreciate this episode so much more. In 8th place is Season 5 Episode 14, The Devil Complex. Okay, so from this point on, these are all episodes that I was pretty certain would be on the top 10 list, but The Devil Complex is the only episode on here that lives or dies by how it plays out. If the twist hadn't been handled as well as it had, then this episode could have single-handedly destroyed the back half of Season 5. But the revelation that Fitz had been more mentally broken than we realised, and that he essentially had been schizophrenic for years, was a reveal that changed not only our perception of Fitz, but also how deep some of the writing this show could go. It showed that everything had consequences, that the things that had happened to Fitz weren't just for shock factor. His brain damage from Season 2, his time in the framework, it all led to him breaking, and it's really crazy to think about how easy the second Fitz had it in retrospect. The original Fitz basically became a villain for a time. He betrayed the entire team even if it wasn't willingly, and this is all right before dying what is likely the most tragic death on the entire show. Fitz 2 on the other hand had to hang out in space for a year before being reunited with the love of his life, getting married, having a child, and retiring. It's kinda crazy how different it was. In 7th place is Season 6 Episode 6, Inescapable. So this episode is surprisingly relevant in contrast to the Devil Complex. This was the episode where Fitz 2 learns all about what happened to the original Fitz, and we also see Jemma and him successfully stop the Doctor before Fitz breaks just like the original did. This was the one episode of Season 6 that I thought was worth it. Up until this point in the season, I had been really questioning if we should have gotten a Season 6 at all, but this one was the one where I'm glad we got a season just for this episode. It had been far too long since we had gotten a good Fitzsimmons episode where they just got to talk, all while taking a trip down their memory lane. Seeing their first moment with Coulson was great, seeing some of their childhoods and college years was great. It also gave us some development for the characters that not a lot of people on this show actually get that kind of development. Inescapable was a nice reminder that after 5 pretty different episodes, S.H.I.E.L.D. could still reach the highs of seasons 4 and 5. In 6th place is season 5 episode 5, Rewind. So another very unique and different episode comes in the shape of Rewind, which was also very heavily set around Fitz, and gave us the only appearance of Hunter in the show since his departure in The Spy's Goodbye, and the character actually has never appeared again, which is kind of disappointing. But this is the first real Fitz appearance after everything that happens in the framework, and I love how they managed showing that Fitz is still very messed up from it. We have him lose his cool so easily in the prison, and once they find Enoch, we see that this Fitz is very similar to early season 3 Fitz, where he's willing to do anything to find his people. Overall, this was just a really nice episode to catch up where this character is at. We learn who Enoch is, seeing Hunter again was great, and we bring back the Robin and Polly plotline that had been dangling since the end of season 3. You would think that after 4 episodes of crazy sci-fi stuff, that an episode back on Earth following only one of our main characters would be boring, but it was anything but that. In 5th place is season 4 episode 16, What If? So truth be told, pretty much any episode from the framework arc could easily have ended up on this list. But I didn't want half the episodes on here to be from that arc, so I decided to just pick one, and What If is that one, due to it being the introduction to the new status quo, seeing Ward again, learning who everyone is in this new world. It was all S.H.I.E.L.D. at its very best, and it set up one of the most exciting storylines that I've ever seen on TV, and personally I just couldn't have been happier with how this played out. So in 4th place is season 4 episode 22, World's End. So even after a fantastic storyline in the framework, S.H.I.E.L.D. still brought it back with an amazing final that combined the Ghost Rider and LMD arcs with what we had in the framework. This episode had some absolute unforgettable moments of the entire show. Daisy and Robbie Reyes teaming up, Coulson becoming the new Ghost Rider, and taking on the deal that would ultimately kill him. The defeat of Ophelia and Mallory Janssen's insane portrayal was amazing too. Plus we end the episode with one of my 2 favourite scenes of the team. The first being where Fitz tells everyone that he's going to take the blame, that the framework is on him, but everyone takes his side immediately and says they'll face it together. And then the diner scene that brings us to the insane cliffhanger that S.H.I.E.L.D. is now in space. As far as season's ending go, it's pretty hard to beat this one. In 3rd place is season 5 episode 8, The Last Day. So this is the one episode from this list I feel might be surprising to people, but I love this one so damn much. The Last Day is the episode that shows us flashbacks to one of the failed attempts of the team to save the Earth. We see the immediate aftermath of the Earth being destroyed and survivors getting to the lighthouse. We see May take Robin under her wing. We see Fitz and Jemma try and figure out a way to create time travel. We see Elena run off to face Cassius, and then we learn in the next episode that this was the worst decision she could have made. I just love storylines about the bootstrap paradox, and how this episode portrayed that in such a grim and dark way. It gave us a depressing feeling that this is what will happen to the team if they fail. The season 7 final did something very similar in terms of time loops, but I personally feel that this episode handled it in the absolute best way. Damn, I might even rewatch this episode right now. In 2nd place is season 5 episode 22, The End. So the end was the original season final of the show. When the writers and cast thought there was no way they'd get renewed, they went all out in creating one of the best season finals I've ever seen. And if this was the real season final, then they would have succeeded in their job on almost every single level. We tie up almost every loose end. We give a fantastic ending to the real Phil Coulson. We have one of the most tragic and realistic deaths on the entire show in the shape of Fitz. We have Mack reveal S.H.I.E.L.D. to the world once again in one of the best scenes in the entire show. We have Daisy fight Talbot in one of the best fights in the entire show. This episode had it all, and continually fired on all cylinders. Despite the good moments that seasons 6 and 7 have, I still strongly believe that if this was the ending to the show, then S.H.I.E.L.D. would go down in history as one of the most perfect endings to a TV show ever. So you've gone this far, and you likely know what my number 1 is by now. But real quick, I just want to say again how hard it was to compile this list. Turn, Providence, 4,722 hours, Maveth, Closure, The Dirty Half Dozen, Rise and Shine are just some of the many episodes I wish I could have had on this list. And do remember to let me know what your list is, but anyway, here's number 1. Season 4, Episode 15, Self-Control. So the episode that bridges the LMD and framework arcs has Daisy, Jemma and LMD May facing off against LMDs of Coulson, Mack, Fitz and Mace. And this is one of the most tense hours in the entire show. May revealing that she's going against her programming so she can save the team is one of the most emotional and well done scenes we've seen from this show. Daisy fighting LMD Mace is spectacular and right up there with Talbot as one of the best fights of the show. Plus, I need to shout out the scene where Jemma finds out that Fitz is an LMD and the LMD tries to deflect it. The acting from both Elizabeth and Ian is spectacular, and it's genuinely scary when Fitz starts screaming pretending he is the real Fitz. But there you have it, that's my top 10 episodes of the entire show, But what are yours? Do you agree with my list? Do you disagree with my list? Is there any I left out that you think I really should have put in here? And all that sort of stuff. And please remember to subscribe so we can hit 500 soon, and like and share and all of that. I hope you have an amazing day.